Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Namasami. So I'd like to welcome everyone this evening and offer my greetings. So sometimes when we come new to practice, come new to Dhamma, or even, we've been practicing for a while, sometimes, everything can feel kind of overwhelming. There's all these kind of new teachings coming in. You're hearing do this, do that. And, it can sometimes feel a little overwhelming. We can also find this when we start getting into meditation and trying to develop a meditation practice. So, usually it's when we start out, we might just hear about breath meditation, but then we start hearing about all these different meditation objects and stuff, and it can feel quite overwhelming, quite daunting. So sometimes, we really wish it was a little more clear, a little like written out like a guidebook to us, do this, do this, do this, and just so there's some clarity around it. When I was living with Luang Biek, one of the things was he was very known for that giving really personalized, really good advice and direction in your practice. So, people would ask him, about like meditation objects to do, or they'd ask him for what he'd call homework. So he'd say, meditate, this many hours, do this many hours of walking, this many hours of sitting, or do this many hours of sits where you're not allowed to move. And he'd give you this personal homework for it. And people really liked that, especially the Westerners. A lot of them, when they, because I'd been the first Westerner to go stay there for several years. So my whole generation of monks none of them had ever been there before. And so when I'd tell them about the way Luang Por Biak would do this, everyone was really excited and would want to come visit to try to get some like a quote like a homework assignment from Luang Por Biak. Um, and but unfortunately, we don't always have that. We don't always have access to someone who's going to tell us what to do or give us a bit more of that direction. So we've got to kind of learn for ourselves and learn how to do this. And so, but it's also good too because sometimes we have to be able to adapt because it's we can't just get this one set of advice or this one guidebook to how to structure our meditation practice or how to meditate and just follow this to the letter for the rest of our lives because our lives change, we change, so we need our practice to be able to change to meet our life, to adapt to our personal changes situations we're in. It's this one story I really like. Ajahn Amaro told us before when he was a junior monk living in England, and someone came to visit the monastery and was looking for Lumpur Samedo, who was the abbot of the monastery. So he went to go get him, and he went to Lumpur Samedo's room and just barged in, and Lumpur Samedo was sitting there meditating. And Ajahn Amaro was really like apologetic. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you." And Lumpur Samedo said, "No, that's okay. Adaptability is the key." And so for us, we have to learn how to adapt to our lives and our, different situations. But it is good to, have some kind of guidelines, especially in the beginning, have, some kind of bit of a understanding of how to start doing this and start developing a meditation practice. And so sometimes in the beginning, when we start off with, say, choosing our meditation object. And, sometimes people can think this is, again, find this quite daunting We feel that, there's all these meditation objects that, if I pick wrong, I'm going to be going on the wrong path. Kind of similar to like when someone starts to pick what they want to take in university, and this decision's going to affect the rest of their lives and their career paths and all of this. It's not like that with meditation. We can always change our meditation object. We're not, when we pick one, we're not committed for life to it. We're not getting married to it, or we're not getting chained to it. So, we can always change our meditation object. And actually, it's very good in the beginning to try out a few different meditation objects and see what works for us. A lot of the Kruba Ajahns, like the really respected senior monks in Thailand, really recommend this. Try out a few different ones, see what works for you. And so yeah, we absolutely do have that ability to change our object. And it's also actually usually really good to have a few meditation objects that we are familiar with and that we do use regularly. So a lot of times, generally, we'll have our main meditation object, but we'll have some different meditation objects we've developed to support it. So in the traditional list, the Buddha has these protective meditations. So you've got recollection of the Buddha, you've got um, Asubha, so body contemplation, that's specifically to overcome, desire and lust when they come up. You've got loving kindness meditation, so again, this is to overcome anger, aversion when they start coming up. You've got death contemplation, so this is to overcome a lot of times that, speculative thinking, kind of running off into fantasies or kind of getting carried away. Death contemplation can bring us back and um, uh, kind of ground us a bit more. And so it is good having a few of these meditation objects because you're going to deal with different situations coming up in life, or you're going through different changes. So, you might go through a period where you need to be doing a lot more loving kindness meditation, or you need to be doing a lot more of this or a lot more of that. So it'd be kind of the same, like say a boxer. Maybe their really good punch is their right hook, and that's their really powerful one, but they still, learn a whole bunch of other different punches and blocks and stuff like that because throughout the course of their boxing, there's going to be different things they're in. They can't just depend on just one punch to for their entire match, their entire career. Um, so when we're picking our meditation object, a lot of people start with breath meditation. It's one which is kind of very universal. It's very neutral. It doesn't take as many instructions to learn it. You have your breath everywhere you go. And Lumpur Biek would say one of the advantages of doing breath meditation is the concentration, the samadhi or the samatha, the tranquility, that concentration you gain from doing breath meditation transfers very easily over to other meditation objects. So if you get a certain level of skill with breath meditation, it's very easy to pick up loving kindness meditation or body contemplation or one of these other ones. But it's not necessarily the one that works for everybody. So I think breath meditation is great. I also think for a lot of people, doing loving kindness meditation is a really great one to do, really great to work at. I think one of the benefits of it is, it does use a bit more of the thinking mind. So, if your mind is a little more active, it can help with that. And it also, when you're doing loving kindness meditation, it feels really nice. You're bringing up all this, like these feelings of loving kindness and loving kindness to yourself and everyone around you. So, with it feeling so nice, it's really easy to to keep at the practice and keep doing it because you're coming back, you're like, yeah, I'm going back to doing something nice. It's like it's a lot easier to for eating, like a lot easier to go and pick some kind of nice cake over some kind of really foul tasting food or a very neutral food. Just it's easy, the cake is more appealing. And so um but when we are picking the meditation objects, it's always really good to look at the results we're getting from it. You know, um, so for example, like, I was saying when we were doing that meditation course, if you're doing something like body contemplation and death contemplation, and you're getting really like, you find the next day you're really grumpy or you're getting really down and depressed, then right now that's not the one to be doing, or maybe do it a lot less, maybe don't make it your main meditation object. So it's really important for us to look at the results we're getting and analyze it and see if it's working. And then, a lot of times um, when we do get one which is really working for us and we're taking up as our main meditation object, we do want to kind of try to work on that and use it, and make it our main one and try to use it the most. So, Ajahn Nando was saying that he used to use this simile of, it's like, if a tree falls across the path and you have to cut. So in the monastery, when this happens, it's in the forest. We don't have tractors or anything in the forest. What happens is you have to cut a section out of the tree so you can get through the path. And so he was saying it's like this tree has fallen in the path, and you're taking an axe and you're trying to cut your way through the tree. So he was saying that, um, switching between meditate, always switching your meditation object. He said that's kind of like, you're cutting the tree in this place for a while, and then you stop, and then you move over here and you start cutting over there, and then you move over to another place and you start cutting. And where he said what you want to do is just stay at one point and just keep cutting and cutting and going for it. Um, but I think, that's great. But sometimes, say, if you are cutting and you hit a spot and it's like a particularly hard wood in that spot, or there's some kind of big knot in that spot and it's just not working and you're not going to get through there, it's okay to go and find another spot that it's easier to get through. So it's the same, if you're in your meditation, you're hitting a point where this one's just not, working for you anymore, or something's changed in your life, it is okay to go and change, take another meditation object and work for with that. um but the so once we have our meditation object, we have and we know these instructions, we know how to use this object. One of the other questions which starts coming up is, stuff like, how much should I meditate? um Sometimes, we hear these Dhamma talks or these teachings being which were given to monks or nuns, um, or we hear some famous monk talking about their own practice, and you'll hear them talking and being like, oh yeah, I was meditating 15 hours a day, or you guys need to be meditating so many hours a day. And you can get kind of like, you can get kind of down, you can get kind of discouraged and hear it like that and be like, well, if I'm living a lay life, I don't have 15 free hours a day. Like, it's just it's just not going to happen, or even if you're a monk and you're feeling like, well, I'm just not at that level, I can practice that. You hear these things and you can get kind of discouraged by it. But it's good to remember there's no set amount. Like, it was never set out. You have to meditate at least this much. So we have to, be able to work around our own schedule, our own abilities, what we're able to do, and just our own lives, and try to fit it in. We can try to make more time for it, but we just have to, be realistic to our situation, for when we're deciding what to do. It's good to try to do morning and evening if it's possible. Um, Better still is if you can do three times, like a morning, afternoon, and evening. When I was a junior monk and I was living with at Wat Mopchan with Ajahn Nando, that was one thing he'd always recommend to the lay people and to the monks too, to try at least do three times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. But again, if that's just not possible, that's okay too. And and it's good when you start off with amount of time. You start off with amount of time you can do. So if say, you've never sat before and you can only, you can only find sit 20 minutes or half an hour, that's perfectly fine. You don't try to, if you never sat before or you find it really difficult, you try to push yourself to doing like a 2 hour session or a 3 hour session. And it's just, absolutely miserable and you're just sweating and you're just hating the experience. You can start off with what you can do, and then you can over time work on slowly building up, slowly expanding the times you sit. So one of the things when I went to go live with Lumpur Biak as a junior monk was I wanted to start doing longer sits. I wanted to do. You hear me now? Okay. Okay. So um I don't know what happened. Sorry about that. So what I was saying was so you have to sit to the don't try to when you're starting off try to sit, you know, way longer than you're able to sit. If you've never sat before, or you've only ever been doing 20-minute sits or half-hour sits, don't try to start with go right into 2, 3 hour sits or something like that. Sit what you're able to sit, and then over time you can start to just uh, slowly expand the amount of time you sit. So like I was saying, when I stayed with Lumpur Biak when I went there as a junior monk, this was one of the things he was trying to was teaching me to do these longer sits. So, he'd have me sit for a certain amount of time, and then after a few weeks or a month or two of it, he'd keep expanding it. Okay, a little bit longer, and then just over time you get used to doing those longer sits. Um, and and it's really important when you're doing this and you're trying to get a meditation practice going to be try to be really consistent with it. So because sometimes we can do that thing where we get really enthusiastic and we go really really full on 110%, and then we burn ourselves out, or we go 110% today, 10% tomorrow, and not have that consistency to it. So it's really important to keep a consistent practice going. It's that one we always hear. It's practice is a marathon, not a sprint. But you also want to be compassionate with yourself on this. And so, because it's very easy, if you're like, okay, I want to keep consistent, I'll do it every day. And then just because of life circumstances, maybe you get busy, or maybe there's some kind of family event, or you get sick or something, or something comes up and you're not able to practice for a day or a couple days. Sometimes people can feel kind of discouraged by that, or get down on themselves and get really hard on themselves with that and be like, okay, well, I missed this, so yeah, I just give up. I wasn't being consistent. And don't want to be like that. You want to be, have some compassion for yourself. It's kind of like if you have someone who's going to the gym and they're trying to get in shape, they're trying to get fit, and they're really disciplined on it, and they miss going to the gym one day. And then, they get really hard on themselves, and, it's just ruined their day, and they're just really, really negative on themselves. We don't want to be like that. We want to, okay, I missed today. I'm just going to do it tomorrow, just keep going. But we also want to have a balance to it, because sometimes, we can be really too soft on ourselves. So we've got to find that balance, because you can be like, okay, well, I missed today, so no problem, no problem. And then tomorrow I missed tomorrow. Okay, no problem, no problem. And then you've been so over compassionate to yourself that you never end up doing any practice anymore. So you want to find that balance. It's one of the things coming to Dhamma and Dhamma practice. There's always this finding this balance, finding this middle way, and finding what works for us. And so when we've got our practice going like this, we've got our meditation object going, we're finding like a good practice schedule of times we practice and lengths we practice. Um, One of the other things we can do is start doing stuff to support our practice, stuff we can do outside of our practice in our life to support our practice. And I know I've given many talks to you guys about this before, but so, one of the things is trying to have a basis and a foundation in sila, or like morality, or the way we behave, by our body and speech. And so when we really are, you know, uh, being skillful and not doing unwholesome things with our speech and our actions. So, we always take like trying to keep the five precepts as like a baseline for it. So that's avoiding killing, avoiding stealing, avoiding sexual misconduct, avoiding lying, avoiding intoxicants, as a foundation in that. And of course, you can always expand on that. So like, for speech, instead of just not lying, you not frivolous speech, not malicious speech, for not killing, you can go to not harming. So there's always like that's a base, but we can always expand on that. And when we do have like a good foundation in our sila, our behavior of body and speech, this is going to really free up a lot of free us from a lot of anxiety and worry and a lot of problems in life. Because it's the one of the great examples for it is, stealing, or sorry, lying. You lie, and then you have to tell, this old saying, you have to tell 100 lies to cover for one lie. And you're always worried, does this person know? Or, oh, what did I tell that person? And, it creates all this like inner stress and turmoil. And you're going to take all of that with you when you go and do some meditation and go to sit and try to calm down. So keeping good morality, good sila will help our minds be a little more peaceful. There's the Apanaka Dhammas. So these are those practices that are always right, never wrong. So, practicing more sense restraint, moderation in eating and moderation in sleeping. Um, Another one is, really the idea of having good friends, having your Dhamma friends, your Kalyana Mitta to support you and, come and practice together and support us on the path. Another one is, having a good balance of, or finding a good amount of, just Dhamma input. So, it can be listening to Dhamma talks, having Dhamma conversations, or reading books, whatever, that I'm finding that right balance for us. Because again, there's no set amount of how much you have to read or how many talks you have to listen to, or if you have to memorize anything. You want to find that balance where it can kind of keep your mind on the path, keep you inspired. But again, there's no set amount. So I'd like to offer this to everyone as a bit of a reflection this evening.